Hello and welcome to another tutorial. In this tutorial, we are going to create this nice tab menu with contents. As you can see, by default, the home tab is active and the contents of the home tab is displayed. But whenever you click on any of the tab, it switches and displays the content of that tab. So creating these tabs are pretty simple. Let's start it. Okay, let's define the basic structure of the HTML. Title will be simple tabs. Now inside the body element we will define a div with class equal to container. Inside the container class we will define a now tag with class equal to tab header. Inside this we will define an unordered list with list items. Each list item will contain a class called tab button. Copy this and paste it 3 more times. This one will be about services and the last one will be contact. Now let's save this and refresh the browser and you can see the list items appears, which will be the tab buttons. Now let's define the tab contents. Inside the container class we will define a main tag with class equal to tab content. Inside this we will define 4 div elements with one unique ID name and one common class name called panel. Inside each div element we will define an h2 element with a title, a paragraph, and an h3 element for indicating the tabs. Now let's copy the whole div element and paste it down below. Change the ID name to panel2, class will be the same panel. Change the title to about and this one will be panel2. Now paste it one more time, change the ID name to panel3, class will be the same. Change the title to services and this one will be panel3. Now paste it one more time, change the ID name to panel4, class will be the same. Change the title to contact and this one will be panel4. Now that's it for the HTML code. Now let's save this and refresh the browser and there are our tab contents. Now let's style it with CSS. Now define the style tags. Select all elements, box sizing border box, margin 0, padding 0. Now target the body element, min height 100 viewport height, min width will be 100%. Specify the background color for the body, display will be flex, justify content center, and align items center. Okay, we specified the width, height and background color for the body element and all the elements inside the body element will be centered vertically and horizontally. Now let's write the CSS code for the container class. Copy the container class. Width will be 65%. Specify the color. Background color will be dark cyan and we will also define the back shadow for the container. Now let's save this. Okay, now let's style the unordered list to create the tab menu. Now copy the tab header class. Target the UL element, list style type none, border bottom 1 pixel solid white, cursor pointer and overflow hidden. Now copy this and target the li element, float left, padding will be 15 pixels to the top and bottom, 20 pixels to the left and right. Font size will be 20 pixels. Text transform uppercase. Now refresh the browser and there is our tab menu. Now let's style the tab contents. Okay, now copy the class tab content. Target the panel class. Position will be relative. Min height 300 pixels. Padding will be 40 pixels and font size will be 20 pixels. Okay, now let's style the headings and the tab indicators. Okay, now copy the above, paste it and target the H2 element, padding 20 pixels. Now copy it and paste it, target the H3 element, position will be absolute, bottom 20 pixels, right 20 pixels, and also specify the color. Okay, now we need to add a hover effect to the top buttons. Now copy the class tab header, target the class tab button, unhover, background color will be teal. And we have a nice hover effect on the top buttons. Now let's hide the top contents. So to do this, we will set the display property of the panel class to none. And you can see the top contents are hidden. Now we want the first tab button, Home, to be active by default and the contents of the Home tab should be displayed. So let's go back to the code editor. Let's copy the class tab header. Now imagine that the first list item has a class called active, so we will target that and background color will be teal. Now let's copy the class top content. Now imagine that the first div element with id name equal to panel1 has a class name called active, so we need to target that and display will be black. Now let's save this and refresh the browser and you can see nothing has been changed. It is because we have not added the active class in the HTML code. So let's go back to the code editor and add an active class to the first list item and the first div element inside the top content class. Now inside the top header class, we will add an active class to the first list item and inside the top content class, we will add an active class to the first div element. And now you can see by default the home tab is active and the contents of the home tab is displayed. Now let's add JavaScript code so that we can switch between the tabs, and whenever we click on any of the tabs, the contents of that tab should display. So let's go back to the code editor. Okay, inside the list items, we will add an onClick event which will call a function called myFunction, and in this function we will pass two arguments, this which represents the same element and the id name of the first div element called panel1. Now copy this and paste it in the second list item. In here we will pass the id name of the second div element called panel2. Now paste it in the third list item. In here we will pass the id name of the third div element called panel3. Similarly, paste it in the fourth list item and in here we will pass the id name of the fourth div element called panel4. Now let's define the script tags and we will provide the definition for the function called myFunction. And we will pass two parameters which will store the values passed in the call function. Let's define a variable which will store all the top buttons. Copy the class name, top button. Now let's define another variable which will store all the panels. Copy the class name, panel, and paste it. Let I equal to 0. Now we will loop through all the top buttons and the panels. And this line will remove the active class from all the top buttons, and the second line will remove the active class from the panels. And this line will add active class to the selected button, and this line will add an active class to the selected panel. Okay, we have some problems in the code. Let's remove the extra brackets. We will scroll up and remove these extra brackets. Now save this. Okay, now we have nice top buttons, and whenever you click on any of the top button, the content of that top is being displayed. Okay, that's it for this tutorial. I hope you will find this class helpful and learn something new from it.